My name is Rabbi Beck. I'm a rabbi here in London, North London, in Stamford Hill. I born really in Jerusalem. My whole family gone out from Jerusalem. We don't want to live under the Israeli occupation. The last 40 years, I'm quite active in fighting Zionism in the state of Israel. When I'm speaking about fighting, I don't speaking about physical fighting. I mean, I haven't got the strength to fight physically, but fighting means with my mouth to explain people and to explain them what is the difference between Judaism and Zionism and what the Zionists have no right to exist. And I'm already active in that last 4 years.
I guess from your perspective, I think from outsiders' point of view, people might think that your position should be aligned with Israel's, but how does it differ and why does it differ?
What the difference between Jews in Israel that you're asking?
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. So what is
it. I will try to keep it short and explain it from the beginning. Judaism is a religion already of 3,500 years ago. God gave us the Torah on the Mount Sinai. Zionism is a new movement of just about 130 years ago. Judaism is built up on believing God, trusting God, believing everything what is due, everything what is on the wall, God is running that. We Jews are believing that God has promised the land for the Jewish people. However, this promise was only conditional. Keep a high moral of life. If not, it's written in the Torah many times that we will be exiled of the land. And that's what's happened at the end, as you can see as in the books of the prophets, especially in the end of the book of Jeremiah, that we have been exiled by God. Jewish people are not rebelling against the Almighty. We're staying in exile. If God sent us in exile, we are staying in exile. However, the Zionist people are atheist people. The founder of Zionism was Theodor Herzl from Vienna. He was completely an atheist. He don't believe in the Torah. He don't believe in God. He even don't make a circumcision for his own son. Making a circumcision is one of the last things. Even secular people still didn't do that. But he didn't do that, and he was proud of that. So we have a different perspective of Judaism. We say why we are in exile. We believe in God. God sent us into exile. We're not rebelling against him. But he don't believe in God. So I have to bring an end to the exile. So I will ask, what should the English people do when they are in exile? They have to organize themselves and do whatever they can to create their own state. The same thing you think for Judaism. Mm-hmm. However, this is built up on don't trusting God, don't believing God, just rebel against him and against his decree of the exile. We are believing in God. We have the full trust in God, and we are not rebelling against him. So you can understand that Judaism with Zionism is extremely opposite. Judaism is built up on trusting in God, believing God, stay in exile till God will send us the Messiah to take us out. And Zionism has built it up on don't trust in God, don't believe in God, go away from God, organize yourself.
Indeed. So one of the things that perhaps people who are from Israel would say is that perhaps your beliefs are in a minority. How widespread is what your belief is as compared to people who have adopted?
Well, look,
so go ahead.
Yeah, look, it depends what means minority. Minority of whom? I want to point out a point. What is Judaism? Judaism is a religion. Judaism is not a race. Judaism is, I would like to explain it more. People will understand that if I speak about Islam. Everybody understand Islam is a religion. Have nothing to do with a country, have nothing to do with a race. If you believe in the Muslim principles, you are a Muslim. If not, you are not a Muslim. The same thing is Judaism. If you believe in Judaism, then you are a Jew. You believe in the 13 principles of Judaism, you are a Jew. If not, you are not counted as a Jew. So again, when we're speaking about a minority between whom? Between people while they call themselves Jews, but they are non-believers. If they are non-believers, they are not Jews. They are not keeping the religion. Again, to be a Jew, you have to keep the religion. No difference if you are black, you are white, you are Japanese, you are Chinese. No different. Everybody can convert to Judaism, and everybody who don't keep the religion, he is not a Jew. So now, again, we're coming to the question, the minority of what? The minority of the 18 million Jews, so-called Jews on the world. Yes, we are a minority. But between these 18 million Jews, only 2 of them are religious. And from these 2 that are religious, a small percentage of them, not a small, I can say hundreds of thousands of Jews, what it looks like me. You can call it Haredi Jews, Hasidic Jews, Orthodox Jews, people with kills, with a beard. These people, there are quite a few 100,000 of this type of people. These people, I can say that most of them are anti-Zionist, and I can say the rest of them, up to 95%, they are non-Zionist. What it means non-Zionist, they don't care about the state of Israel at all. They care about the education, about the teachings, about the work, about the houses, the families. I put it on that way. If Israel will come to an end, they will not shed a tear for Israel. It's not a part of their life at all. This, I can say, it's 95% of Jewish people looks like me, Haredi Jews. This is 95% outside the state of Israel. Unfortunately, in the state of Israel, there are a larger percentage of religious Zionists. I don't know exactly the amount, but you can see that on the media. You can see the settlers. It looks like me, and they are strong Zionists. But still, in Israel themselves, there are hundreds of thousands of Jews, but they are against the state of Israel. Outside the state of Israel, I give you an example here where I live in Stamford Hill. Yes, there are thousands of Jewish people living here. You will not see even one Israeli flag here in the whole area. And not only here, the same thing is in Manchester, same thing is in Newcastle, same thing is in Belgium, in Antwerp, in Vienna, in Argentina, Australia, New York, Canada, no different. Everywhere in the world you see concentrated people looks like me, this type of people. You will not in general see a Israeli flag in the whole area. So again, to the question what you're asking, we are a minority of these people, what the world calls them Jews. But real Jews, what looks like me, Haredi Jews, we are not a majority. We are 95%. They are against the state of Israel.
Brilliant. Rabbi Weiss, if I can come to yourself, if you can briefly introduce yourself and whether your position is the same as Rabbi Beck's as well, from a religious perspective.
Yes, so with the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message and so sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. Amen. Time is limited. This is such a broad subject. The ideology of Rabbi Beck is, as he said, Jews around the world, invariably, if they are true to the Torah, accept the covenant that we made over 3,000 years ago, then it's part of the basics of our religion that we cannot, it is impossible to accept Zionism and the establishment of the state because it is contradictory. The difference between black and white and day and night is the difference between Judaism and this ersatz Judaism called Zionism, the establishment of the state of Israel, which is the culmination, the realization of the ideology of Zionism, is the establishment of the state. And understand, as Rabbi Beck was, I'm just going to buttress what he said. He articulated it beautifully, and it's just the fact. Judaism is to be subservient to God. Jews were taken out of Egypt by God over 3,000 years ago. We made a covenant to be 3,000 years ago. Moses gave the Jews the Torah. We made a covenant to uphold the Torah, to accept this subservience to God and follow the rules of the Torah, and we're following it exactly from that day till today. It has not changed. And part of the issue is, as Rabbi Beck said, we were taken, God commanded us at that time when he took us out of Egypt to go into the Holy Land and to build a temple. But God stipulated that we have to be on a high level of holiness. Now, the Jews were warned by the prophets, as Rabbi Beck again said, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, they all spoke to the Jews and warned them that we weren't so bad like maybe people will think. It's just that we were not on that level of spirituality that was required to remain in the Holy Land. So we were sent into exile with the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago. And then we, as God warned in the Torah that he gave us, he said that it says, so God warns the Jews, do not, it's a very sensitive land, it's a holy land. So be careful that the land should not reject you as a body would reject. You put a piece of sand, one little piece of sand in the eye will stop blinking and tearing up. God warns us, this is a holy land. It will reject you if you're not on that level of holiness. That happened through the destruction. King Solomon built the temple, and then he warned us in prophecies. He said that there will come a time that you will be sent into exile, that you are put under 3 oaths. God foresaw there'll be people who will be impatient with this concept of exile if God drives us into exile. So he warned us, we're on the 3 oaths. 1, do not, if God sends us into exile, do not attempt to return to en masse. Do not return in large numbers. Individuals were able to live by the command of God under the different rules of whoever was there, if the ruling countries, the ruling governments allowed it. But as a nation, do not return en masse from the world. Do not rebel against any nation. We have to be loyal citizens in every country we reside, and do not make any attempt to exile, because God foresaw that there will come a time, as it happened with the destruction of the temple. We were 2,000 years ago. We were dispersed amongst the nations, and God saw there will be people who see our suffering, the Inquisition, the Crusades. There'll be times. So Jews may say, "Well, let's establish our own sovereignty." So God said, "Wait, don't return en masse. Do not rebel against any nation, and do not make any attempt to end exile. We have to be loyal citizens in every country we reside, and we're not allowed to establish a Jewish sovereignty, even 1 centimeter, in any part of the world." So Zionism came a movement that was started by people, Rabbi Beck says 130, maybe a little more, 140 years ago. This was a group of people who were totally estranged from God, who came out of non-religious homes already that had been non-religious for 100 years and more. They started something called, this time doesn't allow, but there was something created called Reform Judaism. They're going to change the Judaism, and they don't keep kosher, they don't keep the Sabbath and everything. So these were children of those grandchildren of this movement. So they were totally estranged from God. And these people came along and decided they want, for their own selfish idea of their own will, to create a certain, establish a land that will be their sovereignty, an enclave, a place to live. And they were thinking of where they would go. They were thinking of Uganda, Patagonia, any place that would be lush and fruitful and to be established. But then they decided they're going to go to Palestine, because Palestine, they understood you need a mass amount of backing of the world in order to establish a state. So they decided, not because they had any issues of being close to God, and they were yearning to return to God. They wanted a physical manifestation, a material concept. So their concept of Judaism, it's not Judaism, their establishment of this sovereignty, of this nationhood, was not as an issue of religion, closeness to God that we had. It was a base, physical, materialistic establishment of a piece of land, just like Italians have Italy, English have England. They're going to have a land. And they decided that in order to gain support, they're going to go to Palestine, and they're going to say to the world, "Oh, God gave us the land." They're going to count on the lack of knowledge of the world, and they'll say, "Hey, they wave the Torah, the Bible as a deed. They use the Star of David, the name Israel, which is Jacob. They say to the world, this is the land that God gave us, and you should support us because you believe in God. So therefore, help us to reestablish, realize again the reestablishment of the children of Israel and the land of Israel." So it's all bogus. So they made an ersatz Judaism using the facade of the Judaism, but they have no godly morals because they're estranged from God. So they don't care that they're counterfeiting, they're falsifying what Judaism is. So that they know, many of the leaders were scholars, unfortunately bad apples, and they were learned people, but they knew clearly that in establishing a state, they're breaching all the laws that God said, that don't return en masse, don't create any sovereignty, and secondly, that said, don't rebel against nations. We're not allowed to kill or steal. That's the basics of the Torah. And certainly, we're not to try to leave exile by killing or stealing. So the whole concept of creating a state of Israel flies in the face of Judaism. It's totally contradictory to what Judaism is. Judaism is subservience to God. Zionism is a base political establishment, and it's contradictory. All the rabbis, Rabbi Beck was saying, around the world, the Jews who are continuing on with our belief and our trust in God, our upholding the Jewish religion, where you will go, invariably. Well, I happen to be speaking to you now from Sao Paulo. I'm in Brazil. There's a beautiful little community here. And but in the very religious community is anti-Zionist in Argentina. But you go to the larger communities, right in New York, where I live, the heart of New York, right across from Manhattan, the largest concentration of religious Jews, right across from Manhattan, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. You're going for miles and miles and miles. You will not find an Israeli flag. And these are the Jews that are giving their lives to God for the religion. They pay for kosher food, their private education. So if it would be critical for Judaism to have a state, these would be the first ones in support of the state of Israel. Yet you find that these are the ones who are true to the religion, who demand and plead with the world that they should recognize that the state of Israel is bogus. Their occupation and the murdering of the people of Gaza and Palestine is criminal, and heresy, a rebellion against God, what people call inhumane, people ungodly. So what they're doing is not only unacceptable, it's criminal. It's criminal to the 10th degree. It's demonic, it's satanic, and we are therefore demonstrating. I just would like to show one little picture or two of this, just to show. I always like to show the contradiction. Here you see when Ben Gurion is reading the Declaration of Independence in Independence Hall in 1948. This is a picture of Theodor Herzl. He's not covering his head. Star of David on the walls. Yet the dais, none of them are covered. There may be one or two, but you don't see it. Then they don't cover their heads. A Jew is required to cover his head, a Jewish male, because to show that we believe there's a God above us. It's a requirement. They don't have beards or pays. Imagine establishing a Christian state without priests, a Muslim state without any imams. It is so ridiculous. It would be a comedy if it wouldn't be so sad. They're making a so-called Jewish state because they're claiming to the world this is godly given to us, and do not dare to speak up against us. So what they're doing to the people, the murdering of the people in Gaza for now almost 2 years, the carnage, the murder, the torturing, and what they're doing for 77 years that we didn't see so clearly, but now the world is seeing, is totally the opposite of what it means to be a Jew. We say, Mahu rachma fateteru, just as God is compassionate, you should be compassionate. I must add that beside the prohibitions of establishing even 1 inch, 1 centimeter of sovereignty for a Jew is forbidden, even if it would be uninhabited, but certainly not by occupying. On top of that, Jews are required to show gratitude to people who did good. We have been, when we were driven by the Crusades and Inquisition from Europe and banned from lands and tortured and so on, the Muslim and Arab lands embraced us. And we are required to show gratitude to that. And the Ottoman Empire took in the Jews in Palestine. So we were living together in total harmony for literally hundreds of years without any human rights groups to protect us. Rabbi Beck is 8th generation Palestinian. They lived in Jerusalem, in Sufas. They lived together, even though we have a distinctly different religion. The difference of religion is not the issue, is not the impediment to peace. The impediment to peace is this corrupt establishment of a selfish, flawed political entity called the Zionist state of Israel. We are crying with the people of Palestine. We are hurting with them. It is totally unacceptable, this occupation of a people, and on top of that, in the name of God, in the name of our religion. Just one half other thing I want to show you. The Jews are being brutally beaten for 77 years. This, you see, they've been sprayed with chemicals that's called stink water that destroys clothes to discourage demonstrations. They are trampled on. The rabbis are assassinated. And nobody says a word. For 77 years, the Israeli army, the Jews simply stand there and demonstrate. We never carry guns. We never carry knives. We are simply speaking up. You see old rabbis, young children, they're speaking up and saying to the world, wait, this occupation is uncalled for, is unwarranted, unacceptable. And they're being brutally beaten, and the world is silent. Today, we are seeing the world silent at this carnage of the people of Palestine by vilifying them. It's unacceptable. They are victims, not villains, the people of Palestine.
So I think you made your position clear regarding the religious perspective. I wanted to ask how the transition. So you've explained the position from a religious beliefs perspective. I guess where does that cross over then to support the Palestinians? What drives that? Where does your sort of emotions or motives come from in terms of supporting the Palestinians?
Right. So simply in 1947, a year before the United Nations ratified the establishment of the State of Israel, the chief rabbi in Palestine himself, again, let's not be confused by the Israeli Star of David. They make a rabbinate and they have chief rabbis. That's just window dressing for their ugly occupation. But we have the Jewish communities that was residing in Palestine. He said to the United Nations documents, a declaration by Rabbi Dushinsky for the United Nations, July 16, 1947, we said, we furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. Then you can see he passed on. He did 10, as Rabbi Beck said, these hundreds of thousands of Jews. This is in Jerusalem. This is in front of the White House when Bibi Netanyahu came. So you can see the crowds of the religious Jews who are standing. What they did, as soon as they made the PLO, Palestinian Authority, we had a representative from our community in Jerusalem as a representative in the PLO, Palestinian Authority, in order to express the Jewish people's beliefs that we have nothing against the Palestinians. On the contrary, we are thankful and grateful for their embracing us and that we were able to coexist. And we are therefore criticizing and condemning in the strongest manner possible the occupation and the taking of their homes and the brutal killing and arresting and on what's happening. So you know what the Zionists did to him, by the way? He lived in Jerusalem, and the Zionists poured acid in his face, and he was blind in one eye, barely able to see from the other. So we feel it's our responsibility, as the chief rabbi of Palestine said, Rabbi Teitelbaum, who's called the Satmar Rebbe. He moved out himself. He was in the 1960s, the chief rabbi, moved to New York and urged his followers to leave. Not everybody could leave. He still have hundreds of thousands of followers there. But he told everyone we should leave in order to show, because by being there, you may be somehow giving them support. Other rabbis disagreed. They said we shouldn't capitulate to the Zionists. We should remain there and fight from within. So you have many different opinions there. But basically, he said, we are required to tell the world that the immorality, the satanic occupation, what's happening is not in our name, and we oppose this. We plead to the world leaders that you have the capability, just like the apartheid, the world leaders have the capability of stopping this. They have stepped up to the plate and saved the people of Gaza and saved the world, the Jews also amongst them, that we can live again in freedom in a free Palestine.
Brilliant, thank you. So I guess that question, Rabbi Beck, for you is a straightforward one, because I think you would consider yourself as a Palestinian.
Yes, of course, I'm a Palestinian rabbi, and I can just add, he spoke everything what I want to say. Rabbi Weiss said already, but I can just add my mother, she's already in the 90s. God should give her a long and healthy life. She told me she remember we used to babysit each other, the children, the Muslim children. She remembered the Muslim neighbors bringing the children to her house to babysit the children. The same thing the Jewish people bring the children to the Muslim house. I mean, it's never has been a hatred between Jews and Muslims. I just wonder how people can be so confused and say all this like the rallies what's going on in London, this anti-Semitic, and the Muslims wants to hate Jews, and the Zionists say, look, the Muslims want to kill all the Jews. If you are against Zionism, you have to side with us. If not, you have been killed. Just, it's an open world today. Everybody can see. Just go over to Morocco, Tunis, Algeria, Turkey, and even in Iran, the greatest enemy of Israel, and still there's a large community of 35,000 Jews living there. They don't know what anti-Semitism is. They never experienced it. It's an open world for a couple of £100. Take a flight to Morocco, take a flight to Iran. Everybody can see that. They have a golden life there. How can people say this is a religious conflict? It has nothing to do with the religion. All this conflict is about the occupation, about the genocide, have nothing to do with the religion. And this occupation, this genocide should be end. And really, it will be end. Of course, I'm not a politician. I can't say how, in what is the way, what is the solution. I can just say, as a Jewish rabbi, what is written in the Torah. In the Torah it's written, and the reference of that is Numbers chapter 14, verse 41. A rebellion against God cannot succeed. As long as Israel is a rebellion against the Almighty, who sent us in exile and besworn us to stay in exile, not to rebel against it, Zionism is a rebellion against the Almighty, they will not succeed. They will come to an end. Of course, we hope and pray to a peaceful end. Nobody looks for bloodshed. But they will come to an end 100%. And that doesn't mean that Jews have to be expelled, Jews have to be killed. No, we can continue living in Palestine under the Palestinian government like we live in Morocco, like we live in Iran. We can live peacefully. I will just tell you a small story. I will finish because it's late. For 18 months ago, we were invited to a conference in Turkey. In the middle of the conference, Ismail Haniyeh, I'm sure you know who is that, is the political leader of Hamas. He appeared to the conference. He saw our rabbis. He told them to come up. He embraced them. He said, look, rabbis like that, I have no problem with that. Rabbis like that will be welcome in the future Palestine. We have not a problem with Jews. We have a problem with occupiers. And this occupation should come to an end. It will come to an end. Of course, we pray for a peaceful end. And then we can continuing live together under a Palestinian government in peace.
If I can just add, I know you've been very active and you've been going to marches and you've been taking every opportunity to present your point of view. Is your position, is it taking hold within the Jewish community? Are you experiencing an increase in interest and sympathy towards your position?
Give a look. In my area in Stamford Hill, I'm a teacher in one school and I'm a teacher for teachers in a few schools here. I'm praying here in all the synagogues. I'm very welcome here. Nobody have a problem with me, with my views. Again, not everyone agree with every way how we deal. Like not everybody comes out to demonstrations, something like that. But our views against the state of Israel, all of them are waiting for the dismantlement, of course, for the peaceful dismantlement of the state of Israel in full. Nobody here, I can't say nobody, I can say 95% of the area where I live are completely anti-Zionist, 100%. And
with that, I think Rabbi Beck and Rabbi Weiss, thank you very much for your time.
May I just add one little point? The accusation of anti-Semitism is so bogus. On the contrary, the Zionist state is the personification of anti-Semitism. They are the ones who cause rift and exacerbation of hate of Jews and mistrust, and they've decimated the Jewish communities in Iraq and Egypt and so many other lands because people confuse the issue of Zionism, occupation, with the serving of God and Judaism. So they are the ones that, and their own people are dying because they want their state. How much blood is spilled of Palestinians and of Jews because of a selfish, flawed establishment of a state. And one other thing, when the Messiah will come, it doesn't mean everybody will become Jewish, or it means that there will be a metaphysical change where everybody will believe in God. Then God will establish, we believe, a temple where everybody will will this and want this. And that's why the Muslims always took us in, because they know we're not a threat to them. We never yearn to take over their lands or anything. And what the future will be, obviously, is a difference of opinion between Muslims and Jews, but that's neither here nor there. When God will make this metaphysical change, we'll see how the world is. But again, there will never be an establishment of a state, not in the future either. It will be simply the revelation of God, where all humanity will serve God in harmony. God will be establishing a temple, and we will all be serving God in harmony. And we yearn for free Palestine. Do what you can. Don't be silent in this face of this carnage. God help a speedy free Palestine.
With that, I thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you for your time today. And we will actually air this tomorrow, inshallah. And hopefully, if there's anything else that you want to add to it, let us know. We'll take that into account. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi Beck and Rabbi Weiss. Thank you. Take care. Yeah, bye-bye.